Stay updated with what businesses are doing in the Middle East and find new strategies to grow your business. I am Ayman Aitani, Business Growth Specialist, and this is BizWrap.
Today, online food ordering in the UAE and KSA has become more profitable to the restaurants, but not for you as a consumer. Plus, Expo 2020 is here and it is excellent. I strongly recommend that you go visit. And if COVID did not kill cash on delivery, nothing will. We also talk about how to secure your Instagram and WhatsApp and Facebook. We also have with us a founder of a 3D fashion design company. And lastly, in a retro bit, we're going to talk about the 90s and watching movies of the 90s versus today in 2021. I'm Ayman Aitani, and this is BizWrap. Online food ordering in the UAE and KSA has become much more profitable, and those savings do not necessarily pass on to you as a consumer. With restaurants, food delivery has always been a side thing, right? They want you to come into the restaurant and eat there and so on. They have a side delivery business. They're okay working with a third-party delivery. But with COVID, things changed, right? It became their primary way to order, to get the customer and to get the food. So that increased competition. And with increased competition, you have better prices. So what does that mean for restaurant owners and to marketplaces like Careem, Noon Food, Talabat, Deliveroo, and others? I've prepared this video to illustrate the point. That's for me. Thank you. All right, so let's look at the 70 dirhams that we just spent on food. All right, before the changes, it used to be at 30%. So here we're looking at 21 dirhams. Now with the changes that were announced in February, it's different. Here we're looking at around 15%. If you want to be specific, we're looking at between 7% to 20%, depending on the size. So if it's 200 dirhams, it's 20%. If it's 50 dirhams, which is most of them are at this range, is 7%. So that means here we're looking at anywhere from 5 to 14 dirhams. So it's a big saving. Now, what does this fee anyway constitute? Whether before and after, it's a fee that covers it. Here, it covers the payment gateway. Even if the restaurant owner wants to go directly to their own bank to do this, they have to pay for the payment gateway. It covers the cost of the delivery. Here, the restaurant owner has to look at the cost of the driver, healthcare, maintenance of the motorcycles. Even if that's outsourced, that also needs to be factored in. Here also, we're looking at the cost of acquiring a customer. To get this sale, they did not spend money on Facebook or Instagram or Google or TikTok. Careem and Noon and Deliveroo and Talabat, they have their own customers. So that covers the cost of acquiring those customers. And you have the technology itself. So the tech itself, you have the driver app, you have the customer app, you have the restaurant app, you have the cloud infrastructure, and also there's the cost of the customer support. So that fee, which used to be 21 dirhams and then 14, covers payment gateway, delivery, cost of acquisition, tech, and customer support. Before COVID, restaurants didn't care much about their online delivery. It was all supplemental, right? So it's an additional thing. Yes, there was a big 30% charge, but it was not a big deal for them because online delivery was a side thing. But after COVID, things have changed, right? So online delivery became their main thing. It's important for them that the 30% that they pay be recovered. So that's why a lot more companies came into the online delivery, and it was much more competitive than before. And of course, with the competition, prices are dragged down. So now, instead of 30% that the restaurant owner pays, they pay 15. What does that mean for you as a consumer? Not much. You might get a discount here and there, but it all goes straight to the restaurant owner. Now, the important part here is to understand that if restaurant owners wanted to do this themselves, they have huge costs. The technology infrastructure, which is they need an app for their driver, an app for the restaurant, an app for the users, and the cloud infrastructure. They also need to pay for customer service. They also need to pay for ads on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and others to acquire customers. A payment gateway. As a merchant, they need to pay a fee for that. So there's immense cost there. When they do this via a third party like Noon Food or Careem or others, this fee is paid in exchange for getting a customer, the technology, customer service, and all of that. صحيح. Expo 2020 is here and it looks great. I got the early chance to go and visit, and I strongly recommend that you do. It's very well organized. The focus is on the sustainability pavilion, and they have artwork all the way through, and it's clean. It's a new part of the city that they just built, right? And it's open only for a short period of time until April as a sneak peek. I visited there with my family and kids, and we went with another family and kids as well. Everybody had a great time. So I'd strongly recommend, if you have youngsters in the family, that you go and visit. Post Expo, it's going to be a science museum approach, but you do need to book in advance. So if you visit the website and you book in advance to make sure that you're able to make it there. And also in 2013, that was when Dubai received the award of Expo 2020, and it was competing with other global cities. So at the time, I studied the Twitter discussion. So keep in mind, this is 2013. This was long before TikTok and Instagram, Snapchat, before they popped. So Twitter had the real sentiment of people and who's saying what and so on. You get to see in the week leading up to the announcement, you get to see this immense spike. And then if you zoom into that immense spike on the day of the announcement, if you look at it per hour, you get to see how within the hour or an hour and a half leading up to it, where you have also this immense spike where the excitement builds up, and then there's the congratulations and so on. I strongly recommend that you go book and visit.
From the UAE to the world, Terra, the Sustainability Pavilion. Book your tickets now on expo2020dubai.com. Expo 2020 Pavilion's premiere from January 22nd to April 10th, 2021.
If COVID hasn't killed cash on delivery, then nothing will. We've all seen this Hollywood movie where you have a character or a monster or whatever it is that won't die. You try to kill them in 8 or 9 different times and they don't die. This is the status of cash on delivery. Noon.com mentioned that during COVID, cash on delivery has been slashed in half, which is great. But when I saw that, I thought that if COVID hasn't killed cash on delivery, nothing will. Any retailer will tell you how difficult cash on delivery is to their business in terms of collecting the cash, logging the cash on the books, tying it to the actual execution, the returns. It's operational complexity, especially if the retailer wants to scale and grow. I guess we're going to be stuck with cash on delivery for the next 10, 12 years as it slowly goes down to less than 5%, but it's going to take us so long until that time. Just die already. The Facebook family is a huge part of the internet. So we're looking at Facebook, the Blue app, we're looking at Instagram and WhatsApp. So there was Safer Internet Day a couple of weeks ago, and Facebook came up with a long list, shared a long list of recommendations. From that long list, there's one thing you do, and I recommend you do it now, is to do enable two-factor authentication on your apps. So simply what that means is you add your mobile number to the phone app. This way, in case something comes up, you lose access to your account, somebody takes it over, simply there's a code that goes there. That's an immense step towards what it is. If you want to go ahead and do it now, go ahead and do it now, because it's very simple to do on Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp. You can also widen that to include email or anything else. I have many cases where I get a call every now and then saying, hey man, you understand this internet stuff. I have a friend who lost access to her Instagram account, or this guy lost access to his Facebook and so on. It's always the same situation where there's something inappropriate happening. And at the end, if you have your mobile number connected to your Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp or email, it puts you in a much, much better position to secure and restore your account.
On Facebook, go to Settings and Privacy, then Settings, then Security and Login, then Two-Factor Authentication, and click Use Two-Factor Authentication. On Instagram, go to Settings, then Security, then click on Two-Factor Authentication. On WhatsApp, go to your Settings, then click on Account, Two-Step Verification, and click Enable.
We're all hunkered down, but we're gonna come out of this together.
Love you, Lonnie. Bye-bye.
Love you all. Bye for now.
And now we're joined by Sara. She's the founder of Speetra. It's a company that works with fashion designers for a 3D aspect of it. So whether taking their sketches and modeling them in 3D, think Sims, or actually adding 3D printed products and accessories to what they're wearing. So Sara, are you saying that all of the fashion houses are doing it wrong now, using sketches and paying for expensive models to do this? All of the fresh designers are doing it wrong? Is this a strong message that you're putting out?
Let's not use negative words. Thank you, Ayman, for having me today. We wouldn't say wrong, but we would say it's very traditional, it's very outdated, and the world is changing. And I think COVID has proved these designers and brands that they need to digitize their process, because that's when the biggest industry that was hit during COVID was the fashion industry. The shows were canceled, collections were canceled, design processes were canceled. Big fashion groups that influenced the entire world had to cancel seasons and not take part in events and not create new collections just because their processes are still super traditional and very physically oriented.
So who are you going after, Sara? Are you talking about the fashion designers, the fashion houses, colleges, so the manufacturers of this? Who's your primary audience with your business?
Our primary audience is basically designers and fashion groups. And our early adopters are basically big fashion groups and luxury designers, because they are the ones who would influence the most for independent designers, and they would have the highest influence. And they are the ones that can pioneer and actually can afford to experiment and change their processes and try something new.
What's a fashion group? So the luxury designers, that's clear, but what's a fashion group?
So as a consumer, you would know Balenciaga, Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, and so on. But there's a big group that owns these brands. So in France, for example, there is the Careem group, and that's a group that owns around 100 different brands that you as a consumer buy from, but they are owned by the same fashion group.
So let's talk business development. So these are big companies, right? The luxury fashion, you're going higher, the group that has these so on.
Yes,
so
how
are you, what's your business development process today, Sara? This requires relationships, requires a lot. So what are you doing today to grow that business?
Basically, all luxury, not all, but most of these luxury brands, they are owned by fashion groups, as you said. And basically, this group is the one that gives you a faster access to these brands, because right now you can go and talk to the brand themselves, but the biggest decision comes from the board of that group. So for us, when it comes to business development, we try to reach out to these groups, and some of them they have, such as Caring, and they have a sustainability board, they have a sustainability department, and that's basically a department that works on finding new solutions, finding new techniques to better improve the processes. And these are our way in. And with this, they can introduce us to brands that can align with the vision of what we do and that can work with us, actually.
But practically, what does that mean? You reach out to them on LinkedIn, you have a senior business development person on your team who does this, your investors opening doors. So practically, what does that mean?
So in Europe, we do have a business partner, and that's our way in. And this business partner has connections with these groups, and they are as our advisory board. So we are based now in France, in Paris, and that's how we're doing it. We have the connections to it, and there is the Federation of Haute Couture, FHCM, in France, and we also have contacts there, and that's how we are growing our designers group. But when it comes to the MENA region, there isn't yet a proper channel for us to reach them.
And are they open to talking to early stage startups? Are they open to talking to early stage startups or not, or not so much?
So fashion tech in general within the MENA region is still very niche. So finding the right infrastructure to find the talent for it, the designers for it, to do the sales and the business development is always a big challenge.
What do you need? What's the team structure? So if you want to execute on a project, what's the team structure? So you have a business development partner. Not all startups have this. They have somebody who can take care of this, and you gave a sense that you have this handled. So let's say they brought in a project or a pilot at least. What team structure do you have to execute on this?
So the main vision of Speetra is to have people of different disciplines to apply their skills in a new industry, in a new vertical, to better improve the process. So I'm an architect, my partner is an aerospace engineer, we have an AI person with us. So it really depends on the person and their interest into learning a new vertical. Because as you may know, there is not yet a degree or a diploma that is into this field and that makes it possible. It's just something that you have to learn by yourself and explore and test. So in Europe, there are already degrees that are coming out now, a fashion tech bachelor or a sustainability in fashion or technology in fashion and so on. But within the MENA region, it's still very, 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 very narrow.
I think fashion tech is not just so this is all very new, right? So they're all traditional houses of how they create and they do and so on. So I don't see this only between specific Amina part. But again, going back to the topic of execution, Sara, do you expect the fashion houses to use your tool and do this on their own, or actually they give you guys a brief and you guys detail the whole thing and come up with the concepts?
So right now, because we still do it manually, what happens is that they send us the brief and we do it. But we are currently developing a SaaS model in order for the whole process to be automated and digitized. And looking a little bit into the psychology of the designers, they want to do it themselves. They don't want a third party. So we know for a fact that they would do it with us using a brief for a project or two. But for the long-term plan, we plan on building a design tool that will be deployed by them and they would be using them.
And how do you build? Is it usage-based? So you're saying it's not a SaaS model yet. So is it going to be usage-based per user per month? Is it based on models, or what type of billing structure do you follow?
Based on subscription model, where designers, the fashion house can have 2-3 subscriptions for their designers to use. It would be a platform where they can upload their 2D sketches, because we need to help them convert from their physicality into the digital world. So they can upload their sketches, the algorithm would read the sketch and translate it into a 3D model. So it would be a plug and play system. You don't have to have a or training to use the platform.
How big can this business be, Sara? I looked at search history. So in preparation for this, I looked at the search history of 3D fashion and designs and models and like this and so on. And I found that I was looking at it. I looked at last 12 months, it's active. Look at the last 5 years, it's active. I looked at 2004 until today. So there's immense amount of volume searching for this, but it hasn't popped yet, right? So it's 2004. People were searching a lot for 3D fashion design, and it hasn't popped up yet. Why do you think it's going to pop now? Because if it hasn't popped up yet, I think we're going to need another many years. So how big can this business be?
This is our unique selling point, actually. This question is specifically because we are.
Has the lock to unlock something. Sara, give me something more practical.
So we're not inventing the wheel. 3D printing and digital 3D design has been existing for ages. And we wanted to create a new use to existing technologies. We didn't want to build new technologies. So our 3D printer specifically, if you also look into 3D printed fashion, you would see that there are bits and pieces, but nothing advanced. It's because 3D printing has not been developed to be fashion suited and to be actually wearable by consumers. because designers want something to sell, not just for show. So our printers are re-engineered in a way to create materials that are that can replace leather, and something that is actually wearable, sanitary, that is zero waste, and so on. So that's one side. And when it comes to the digitization part, the tools that are out there, they require the designer to have a certain skill and certain practice to be able to use this software. And you need to have a certain training to do it. And we've done a lot of research on the psychology of designers and brands and houses, and why do they not use these tools. It's because they are stuck within their comfort zone, and they don't want to learn a new technique, and they don't want to invest, even if they can afford to learn a new technique. This is why our software is a plug and play system. It's not something that you need a training for. It's something that you would just upload your regular sketch, and it will do the thing for you with a GAN-oriented library, AI powered, to give you design ideas.
What are your plans for 2021? What are areas of growth? What are problems to fix? What are questions I can answer?
So basically, we are establishing now in France, and we're trying to expand within the European region. But on the other hand, we're very much attracted to the MENA region, and we want to be based there. So there are so many things that we are looking there. At first, how much the market is ready to invest in R&D, because we know the MENA region and R&D are not so close. So how ready is it after COVID? Because now there's the COVID era, and so many things change and so many priorities changed. So how is the market ready with R&D investments? But also, how can we look into expanding our designers pool there? But more importantly, so I'm bombarding with you with questions, huh? But more importantly,
yes, go ahead.
Finding the right stakeholder and the right academic partner in order to also start sharing awareness about fashion tech within the MENA region, to be able to expand within that market.
When you say R&D investment, are you looking at them investing as part of your business, or are you looking at them having a budget to experiment with their fashion?
No, to invest in our business within R&D. Because right now,
but they're investing, so for equity, right? So investing as part of your business.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So you're looking after institutional investors like VCs and so on, not fashion houses in the region or retailers in the region, right?
Yes.
And you're asking how ready they are from an investment perspective to do so?
Yes, in terms of R&D, because we know how VCs within the MENA region are looking for a different kind of industries, and we're talking about a niche industry that is fashion tech, and we're talking about R&D within the fashion tech.
In your discussion, many times you've said, MENA and outside MENA, MENA and outside MENA. The way I see it with fashion tech that you're looking at, this is new for everybody, all across the board, in Asia and Europe. So this is new for everybody.
Yes.
Plus, once you're going after luxury brands who have the big margins and so on, and they've been doing the business for a long, long time, they have the mindset of, we're comfortable, we don't need this, we'd like to experiment because it's cool and everybody else might be doing it. We might do some fashion thing to tick this box that we did this, but my feeling is you need those who are. I don't think it's a MENA versus other. So that's a definite clarity for me that there's no MENA versus other countries. I don't see that. The second part, if you're raising funds for this, the problem with any investor, whether they're local or not, is they need to see the revenue model. Today, from my discussion with you, I sense it's closer to a consultancy advisory to 3D brand, to luxury to brands, until you have that tech element added in 6 months, let's say, or 8 months or so on. That concerns perspective. They don't like to go look at services businesses. They don't like services at all because they don't feel services can grow to be very big businesses and so on. So I think if you talk to VCs, you need to have a stronger tech pitch. Even if you have it now, it has to, at least in what you're communicating, it has to come as a stronger tech pitch part. And I would look at and there are a couple of other things I want to say that, but you have something to say, tell me.
And the reason why I'm differentiating between MENA and Europe is because within Europe, it's still niche, of course, but there are already funds that are dedicated into investing in fashion tech and R&D in fashion tech, and there are already governmental.
There are a few, right, Sara? There are a few. Less than 10, 20, 30 in all of Europe.
By now, there's plenty because I'm a foreigner.
More than 50.
There are some governmental, not just private.
All the whole thing. More than 50?
I don't have the right count for it.
I don't think they're more than 50, right? So you apply to 50, hopefully 7 choose you. The grants are done. Yeah, these are grants. Mostly if they're government, they're likely to be grants and supportive grants and so on. So I don't think it's a huge pie.
No, not yet, of course. But it's a land that has started, whereas the MENA region is still untouched land. You see where I'm going?
Okay.
يعني it doesn't يعني هون you might find, even if limited number, you might find fashion tech startups and studios, while within the MENA region it's still super niche. It's still a virgin land when it comes to this industry.
Okay. But still, with the grants, they're less picky because they want to look at supporting you to grow. VCs, they want their money back and very quickly and 10 times what they gave you. So, so the discussion is different, and that's why I recommend, if you want to work on this, and I can talk to you separately about that, of how to position it from to give it more of a stronger tech angle. That scales and so on. So that positioning will help. So what you shared today is definitely there, but we'll just reposition it a little bit more. This is one. Two, to look at designers and academics and academic schools for this. You can do this in any country. So MENA, non-MENA, you can do this in any country. And I think that's an aspect where you have to somehow invest in, because I feel that's going to be your long-term business, this long-term, let's say, awareness play.
Yes.
And it will help you facilitate discussions. It will make you look much better when you apply to a grant. That we already have partnerships with 7 universities. And with universities, it's easy. You need one professor to say, look, come in and talk to my students. And that's a professor can decide on their own class. So I used to teach, and I can decide on a teacher at university level, and I have control over my class and guest speakers and what we do. I don't need somehow at worst case, I need my department head to say yes, versus to get the whole university heads to say yes to this. So that is relatively easy. I dedicate a person, maybe a member of your team or a part of your personal time, to reach out onto LinkedIn to some of the design professors for that. So I think that is an aspect. And the other parts, if you can look at going after designers themselves. So there's in Dubai, there are many spaces like this. One aspect is the fashion district in Dubai and D3 and so on. So there are many design-focused hubs, if you wish, and they have proper functions there that you can approach formally, and you have the informal part where there are the workshops and coffee shops and ateliers and things like this that are frequented by those designers that you're looking to attract. So I would target those 2 levels: a formal, with the whole space, the whole district, to look at partnering with them on something like this, and going after the ateliers who give workshops. They have so many workshops on many different design aspects, and those attract, even if it's just a few designers. In your case, you don't need thousands of designers to do this. So I think that would be an angle, but that's a long-term play, and I would recommend having somebody of your team have part of their time where you work on a target that over the next quarter we want to reach out to 12 schools, 12 universities, and to 3 ateliers, for example, in this city. So that could be a quarterly goal that you'd work towards.
Yes.
I'm happy to answer further questions if you have later on, especially when it comes to the positioning. Thank you, Sara, for joining us and the information. And it was very visual. What we had to share from what you had was very visual. And good luck with your work. It's not easy. It's not easy, right? So
yeah.
Thank you for joining, Sara.
Thank you.
Technology is the future of fashion. I've always asked the question of how is fashion created and how can we improve it. Our work starts by digitizing this industry. Individuals from different backgrounds can now use their set of skills to apply them in other verticals, a new way to create opportunities. We introduced 3D printing in this industry to create textiles and garments, allowing designers to experiment and translate their process into an eco-friendly one. People can identify and feel a connection in a less traditional way. It's my way of giving back to my country, hope for the future, and make fashion sustainable.
Thank you, Zaina, for sharing your comment to Sara about how opportunities for her to look at. So Sara, if you're still with us, if you can check Zaina's profile on LinkedIn, she's saying that there are opportunities for you in different countries to look at that. So I'd strongly recommend you look at that from a grant and public funding perspective. Thank you, Zaina, for sharing that. Lastly, in a retro bit, we're going to talk about the 90s, right? I've been going through a 90s phase. I've been going back and watching 90s movies that I've seen before, and going back watching and even reading 90s books I've read in the 90s, which like Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park and Sphere and so on. So that's the phase I've been going through over the last couple of weeks and I'd say months. One of the movies I saw was The Bodyguard, if you remember that. Whitney Houston, Kevin Costner, 1992. When I saw that, I remembered watching that for New Year's Eve. So, and that got me thinking about watching movies in the 90s versus 2021, right? So my parents in the 90s had no idea where this pre-mobile phones and the internet. So at the time, we had 3 cars. We drove an hour far away to watch the movie. Then we came back to somebody's house. We spent the night there for New Year's and so on. So I'm thinking my parents had no idea at any point in time where we were, what the progress is, if we had problems there, if I wanted to skip and go somewhere else. So there wasn't this visibility. So I was thinking if Ayman was in 2021 young enough to go to the movies, my parents would be able to have they'd be able to have visibility on where I am, right? So with Google Maps, there's an always on location or WhatsApp share location. They can know minute by minute where I am. They can nudge me with messages on WhatsApp, on iMessage or whatever, or I can say, look, we've reached there, we've changed this, we've changed that. They can call me directly, and so can I in case something comes up. And I'll likely post something on TikTok or social and so on that they can keep an eye on. Very likely they'd be giving me a card that I can pay contactless payment. My dad would get an SMS. They'd know that I'm at this point and so on. So I'm not saying that this is better than before. I'm sure somebody who's young now, who's super connected and wants to find ways for their parents to actually not see where they are. They could game the system. But what I'm saying is it's different. For parents it's different, and for young ones it's different. It's better, I think, from a peace of mind perspective and convenience of a phone, but I don't know. I think I like the disconnected 90s aspect, although very likely it's just me being nostalgic. Very likely it was very messy for me to reach them, to get more money or to get permission to do something or another. All right, that's it for me today. Thank you for joining. I'll see you in 2 weeks on Monday at 5:30 UAE, 3:30 KSA for more updates on business in the Middle East and retro bits and live guests with questions. Thank you, Sara, for joining. Thank you, Rita and Samir from the team for helping with the edits and the content and setting this up. Thank you, Zaina and Joseph for commenting and giving feedback. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right, the episode is over. I will see you every Monday at 5:30 p.m. UAE. Thank you for watching.